Alex Carter had always been fascinated by things that others considered strange or impossible. From a young age, he loved exploring old ruins, reading about ancient civilizations and imagining what life had been like thousands of years ago. His friends often teased him, calling him a dreamer, but Alex didn't mind. For him, the world was full of mysteries waiting to be discovered. One Friday morning, he packed his bag with essentials: a notebook, a camera, some water bottles, snacks, and a small flashlight. He had read about a remote desert region far from the city, where old ruins had been discovered years ago but were rarely visited. Locals spoke in whispers about statues that were older than time and symbols no one could understand. Alex didn't care if it sounded strange. He loved the thrill of discovery. The drive was long and dusty. As he left the highway, the city's noise faded, replaced by the soft whisper of wind over sand and rocky hills. The sun was high, beating down relentlessly, but Alex was too excited to notice discomfort. After a few hours, he reached the location marked on his old map. The ruins were partially buried in sand, hidden between large rock formations. From a distance, the shapes looked like broken walls and stone pillars, worn down by centuries of wind and weather. Alex parked his car and walked slowly toward the ruins. Every step he took stirred small clouds of sand. He could feel a strange energy in the air, as if the place had been waiting for someone to return. He paused for a moment, taking in the view. The ruins were silent, except for the faint sound of wind passing through the stones. It was eerie, but in a good way, like stepping into another time. As he explored, Alex noticed a peculiar shape half buried in sand. It was a statue, taller than any human, carved from a dark, almost metallic stone. Its surface was covered with intricate symbols, spirals and lines that seemed almost alive, like they were trying to tell a story. The statue's face was humanoid but strange, with large almond-shaped eyes and a small mouth. There was something about it that felt different. Alex crouched to examine the symbols. He ran his fingers over the carvings carefully, noticing how the stone was cold despite the sun. He laughed to himself, imagining what it would be like if the statue could suddenly move or speak. "If you wake up, I hope you like coffee," he joked aloud. The desert echoed his laughter, but nothing responded. Feeling playful, Alex decided to take a photo with the statue. He posed beside it and even gave it a quick, joking kiss on the cheek, pretending it was a living being. "There," he said, smiling at the camera. "You're officially part of my collection." He laughed, thinking how silly he must look to anyone who could see him now. The statue remained still, but Alex felt a strange tingle run down his spine. He shrugged it off, blaming it on the heat and his imagination. After taking several photos, he carefully dug around the statue's base, thinking it might be easier to transport a small piece of it home. But the more he tried, the more he realized it was too heavy to move without special equipment. Disappointed but not discouraged, he decided to leave the statue where it was and return the next day with tools if needed. For now, he snapped a few more pictures and jotted notes in his notebook. As the sun began to set, the desert transformed. Shadows grew longer and the ruins took on an almost magical glow. Alex set up a small camp nearby. He made a fire and boiled some water for tea, staring at the statue from a distance. There was something about it that refused to leave his thoughts. He wondered about its origin, who had made it, and why it had been hidden for so long. That night, Alex lay in his sleeping bag listening to the wind. His mind wandered back to the statue, and he felt a mix of excitement and unease. He had read enough stories to know that sometimes the most extraordinary discoveries came with unexpected consequences. But he couldn't stop thinking about the possibility that he had found something truly unique. As he drifted to sleep, his dreams were filled with strange visions. The symbols on the statue seemed to glow, shifting and moving in impossible patterns. He saw flashes of cities he didn't recognize, skies filled with unfamiliar stars, and beings that looked like the statue itself, walking among humans. The dreams were vivid and intense, leaving him with a feeling of awe and fear at the same time. Morning came quickly. Alex woke up to the soft light of dawn filtering through the rocks. He packed his things and took one last look at the statue before leaving. Something in him wanted to touch it again to understand it better, but he resisted. "Not today," he whispered. "I'll be back." He drove back to the city, but the memories of the desert stayed with him. That night, he posted the photos online, sharing them with friends and fellow history enthusiasts. They were impressed, commenting on how well-preserved and mysterious the statue looked. Alex smiled, replying to their messages, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the statue was more than just stone. Later, as he lay in bed, he felt a faint vibration from his phone. He checked his messages, nothing unusual. He shrugged, thinking he was just tired. But then he heard a sound, soft at first, like a whisper. He froze, listening. The sound came again, clearer this time, almost like words forming in the air. Alex's heart raced and he sat up. "Hello?" he whispered, half expecting no one to answer. There was silence, then a faint hum that seemed to come from his desk where he had placed the photos of the statue. Alex rubbed his eyes, thinking he must be imagining things. But the hum grew louder, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. His curiosity and fear battled inside him, but he couldn't move away. Something about the statue, even in the photographs, felt alive. He decided to call it a night, though sleep was difficult. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the statue's eyes staring back at him, larger and more vivid than in real life. By the early hours of the morning, he finally dozed off, his mind caught between wonder and dread. He had no idea that this simple, joking act of kissing the statue had set in motion events that would change his life, and perhaps the world, forever. The next morning, Alex woke up with a strange feeling in his chest. The memories of the desert and the statue's mysterious gaze lingered in his mind like a shadow he could not shake. He had always believed in logic and facts and evidence, yet something about that statue felt beyond explanation. He tried to push the thought away, telling himself it was just imagination. After all, it was just a piece of carved stone, nothing more. As he prepared breakfast, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was a strange email from an address he didn't recognize. Hesitant, he opened it. The message contained only one line. "You have awakened something you do not yet understand." Alex's hand trembled. He stared at the screen, reading the line again and again, half expecting it to disappear. He scrolled down, but there was no signature, no explanation, nothing else. Alex rubbed his eyes and laughed nervously. "Great," he muttered. "I'm either dreaming or someone is playing a joke on me." He tried to ignore it and went about his day, but a nagging unease followed him. Every sound in his apartment seemed sharper, every shadow longer. Even the photos of the statue on his desk now felt different, almost as if the eyes in the stone were following him. That evening after work, Alex returned home and noticed a faint humming sound. It was soft at first, almost imperceptible, but it grew steadily louder as he approached the desk. He froze. The sound seemed to come from the computer, but when he looked closer, there was no visible source. The photos on the screen flickered as if responding to the hum. Suddenly, one of the images, the one where he had jokingly kissed the statue, changed. For a brief moment, the statue's eyes glowed with a soft golden light. Alex stumbled back, his heart pounding. He blinked rapidly, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him, but the glow returned, more vivid this time. He could hear a faint whisper, like the wind carrying words just beyond comprehension. Alex's curiosity overcame his fear. He leaned closer to the computer and spoke aloud as if the statue could hear him. "Hello, can you talk to me?" Silence. Then, to his astonishment, a voice filled the room. It was low, calm, and unmistakably real. "You have disturbed the slumber. You have awakened me." Alex stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a chair. His mind raced. This is impossible. I must be dreaming," he whispered to himself. But the voice spoke again, clearer and closer this time. "You kissed me. That act, though playful to you, has broken the seal that kept me dormant." Alex's fear turned into awe. He had always been interested in mysteries, but never in his wildest dreams had he imagined a conversation like this. What are you?" he asked cautiously, his voice trembling. "I am a sentinel," the statue's voice replied. "I have observed your world for 1,000 years, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Your actions, your curiosity have summoned me." Alex swallowed hard. His mind struggled to comprehend the words. "Summoned me? I didn't mean," he stammered, realizing how silly it sounded. "I kissed a statue, that's all." "How can that summon anything?" "The act was symbolic," the voice explained. "Small gestures can trigger great events. You have crossed a threshold, Alex Carter. The world you know is on the brink of change. The responsibility of humanity is now tied to your actions, though not entirely yours alone." Alex paced the room, trying to make sense of the situation. Change, what do you mean? Are we in danger? The statue's voice was calm but serious. Danger exists, but it is not absolute. The path forward is uncertain. Humans have the power to shape their destiny, but you have awakened forces that now watch closely. What was hidden is no longer hidden. He pulled out his notebook and began scribbling notes, trying to record every word. This was beyond anything he had ever experienced. His curiosity battled with fear, and his hands shook as he wrote. The Sentinel continued speaking, describing events and visions that Alex could barely understand. Cities filled with unrest, strange natural phenomena, and symbols appearing where no human language could reach. Alex's mind raced. He thought about the desert, the remote ruins, and the statue he had encountered. Could it really have been alive all this time? Could a simple, playful act really trigger such an extraordinary event? Despite his skepticism, the evidence in front of him was undeniable. The voice was real, and it knew his name. Hours passed, and Alex realized he needed guidance. He thought of Professor Elena Ramirez, a well-known archaeologist and expert in ancient civilizations. She had always been fascinated by the unexplained and often humored Alex's curiosity. He picked up the phone and dialed her number, hoping she would take him seriously. "Elena, it's Alex. I found something," he said hurriedly when she answered. "Something extraordinary. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a statue and it talks." There was a pause on the other end. "Alex, are you feeling all right?" she asked cautiously. "I'm serious. I wouldn't call if I weren't. Please, you have to see it for yourself." After some convincing, Elena agreed to meet him at his apartment. By the time she arrived, Alex had prepared everything. He showed her the photos, the notebook with his notes, and explained the strange email and the glowing eyes. Elena examined everything carefully, skeptical but intrigued. "This is unusual, Alex," she said. "If what you say is true, it challenges everything we know about ancient civilizations and possibly life itself. But you must stay calm and think logically." Alex nodded. "I know, but it's hard to stay calm when it speaks. And it said something about humanity being in danger." Elena frowned. "We need to document everything carefully. If this is real, we must be cautious. Do not make any sudden decisions or actions without understanding it fully." The statue remained silent for now, but Alex could feel a change in the room. The air felt heavier, charged with energy, as if the presence of the Sentinel was not limited to sound but to something deeper, more profound. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the voice, the warnings, and the visions it had described. Something inside him knew that his life, and perhaps the world, had entered a new phase, one that could not be undone by a simple joke. As he drifted into a light, uneasy sleep, he saw the statue again in his dreams. This time its eyes were brighter, almost alive, and it spoke without words, conveying a message he felt deep in his mind. "Prepare, for what comes next will test you and all of humanity." Alex awoke with a start, heart pounding, knowing that the playful adventure that had begun as a simple weekend trip had transformed into something far beyond his imagination, and deep down he felt a chilling truth. The statue was awake and nothing would ever be the same again. The following morning, Alex awoke to a heavy silence in his apartment. The usual sounds of the city seemed muted, as if the world itself was waiting for something. He sat on the edge of his bed, replaying the events of the past 2 days. The glowing eyes, the voice of the statue, the cryptic warnings, all of it felt like a dream. Yet the trembling of his hands and the notes on his desk told him it was real. He turned to the desk where the photos of the statue sat, now arranged carefully. The statue in the images seemed almost alive, the carved eyes holding an intelligence he couldn't comprehend. Alex hesitated for a moment, then spoke aloud, hoping the voice would respond. "What do you want from me? What am I supposed to do?" For a long time there was only silence, then almost imperceptibly a low hum began to fill the room. Alex leaned closer. The statue's voice, calm and steady, finally spoke again. "You have awakened me. You seek answers, but know this: understanding comes in time. You are meant to witness, to learn, and to guide others if they are willing to listen." Alex's heart raced. "Guide others? What do you mean? Who should I guide?" "Everyone will think I'm crazy," the voice replied, patient and measured. "The world may doubt you, but truth does not require belief. You are the first to hear, but others will come to see, in ways you do not yet understand. Feeling both awe and fear, Alex decided he needed to act. He retrieved his camera, notebook, and phone, determined to document everything thoroughly. He began reviewing the photos, studying the symbols carved into the statue. They were intricate and unlike anything he had ever seen, lines and shapes that seemed to move subtly when viewed from different angles. Alex's mind struggled to comprehend their meaning. He spent hours researching online, searching for anything similar, ancient languages, symbols, historical records of unusual statues, but found nothing that matched. The statue was unlike any known civilization. It seemed as though it had come from another world entirely. The thought made Alex shiver. Could the stories of ancient aliens be true? Had he really found proof? By late afternoon, Professor Elena arrived again, carrying her laptop and a few reference books. "I've been thinking about what you told me," she said. "Even if we are skeptical, we have to approach this scientifically. Document everything, take measurements, record every detail. If this statue is sentient, there must be patterns we can understand." Alex nodded eagerly. He showed her the notes he had taken, the symbols he had traced, and the recordings of the hum he had heard. Elena listened carefully, occasionally asking questions. "Have you noticed any changes in the statue itself since it spoke?" she asked. Alex hesitated, then admitted, "Yes, at night sometimes it glows, and sometimes I swear the carvings seem to shift. It's subtle, but it's happening." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Fascinating. This is unlike anything I've encountered. We must be careful, but also thorough. There's a lot we can learn here if we remain calm and methodical." As they worked, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the apartment. Alex felt a growing tension, a sense that time was moving faster than usual. He noticed a faint vibration coming from the photos again. The hum returned, filling the room with a low, rhythmic sound. Alex froze, staring at the images. Suddenly, the statue's voice spoke once more, this time with a tone that suggested urgency. "The path you have awakened is fragile. Humanity walks a fine line between awareness and destruction. You must prepare, for what comes next will test both understanding and courage." Alex exchanged a worried glance with Elena. "Test? What kind of test?" he asked. The voice was calm but firm. "Knowledge alone is not enough. Action is required. Observation, learning, and communication are the first steps. Others will be called, but timing is crucial. Patience and clarity will guide the way." The words were unsettling, yet they carried a strange weight of purpose. Alex realized that this was no longer a private experience, it was a responsibility. The statue had chosen him as the first to witness its awakening, and the implications were far greater than he could yet understand. Over the next few days, Alex and Elena focused entirely on studying the statue. They measured every angle, documented every carving, and recorded the hums and vibrations. Slowly, Alex began to notice subtle patterns in the symbols. Certain shapes repeated in cycles, almost like a language, while others seemed to correspond to astronomical events he had read about in old texts. One evening, as they pored over their notes, Alex's phone buzzed again. This time it was another message from the same unknown address. "Watch the skies. Observe what is hidden. You are ready to begin the journey." Alex looked at Elena, who frowned thoughtfully. "This is becoming more than archaeology," she said. "Whatever this is, it is guiding you toward something. But what?" The next night, Alex couldn't sleep. He sat by his desk, staring at the photos and the carvings. He felt a pull, a sense that the statue was reaching out, not in words, but in energy. The room seemed charged with a presence he could not explain. He closed his eyes, trying to sense what it wanted him to understand. Suddenly, in the quiet darkness, he felt a vivid image flash in his mind. Cities surrounded by strange lights, people looking up in awe and fear, and the statue standing among them. It was a vision, but so clear it felt like a memory. He gasped and opened his eyes, sweating. Elena, noticing his distress, asked, "What happened?" I saw something," Alex whispered. "I think it's trying to show me the future, or maybe possibilities. I don't know exactly, but it's real, Elena. This is real." Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we must be careful. We need to understand what it is showing and how we can respond." The statue remained silent that night, but Alex could feel its presence, a quiet but powerful awareness that lingered in the air. He realized that the statue was not just an artifact. It was a sentinel, watching, waiting, and perhaps guiding. And with that realization came a weighty thought. The world he knew was changing, whether anyone else believed it or not. As dawn approached, Alex felt both fear and determination. He knew the journey had only just begun, and the next steps would be crucial. The statue had awakened, and with its awakening, Alex's life, and perhaps humanity itself, had entered a new, uncertain chapter. He took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "I don't know what comes next, but I have to be ready." The next morning, Alex woke with a sense of urgency he had never felt before. The statue's warnings echoed in his mind, and the visions he had seen the night before lingered like fragments of a dream he couldn't shake. He knew that understanding what the statue wanted was not just a matter of curiosity anymore, it was a responsibility. Elena arrived early, carrying additional books on ancient symbols, astronomy, and unexplained phenomena. "We need to connect the dots," she said. "Whatever this statue is, it has a message, and if it's true that it can see possibilities for the future, we have to figure out what it's trying to teach us." They worked for hours, comparing the carvings on the statue with ancient texts and star charts. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. Certain symbols corresponded to dates and celestial alignments. Others seemed to indicate warnings or potential dangers. Alex realized that the statue's carvings were more than decoration. They were a map of knowledge, a guide meant to help humans understand events beyond their normal perception. As evening approached, the hum returned. This time, it was stronger and more insistent. Alex felt it resonate through the floor, through his bones. He stepped closer to the photos of the statue, and the voice spoke again, clear and firm. "You have begun to see. Observation is the first step. Knowledge must guide action, but the choices belong to humanity." Alex swallowed hard. "Action? What kind of action?" he asked, though he already feared he might not fully understand. The statue continued, its voice calm but urgent. "The signals have begun. Humanity has ignored the signs for centuries. Small changes, small gestures have been ignored. Now the world faces consequences it can no longer avoid. You must help others see, help them understand before it is too late." Elena stepped forward. "It's warning us about human behavior, maybe environmental or social issues," she said. "But it's also showing that the future is not set. If we act wisely, we can guide things toward a better outcome." The room was filled with tension as Alex took notes frantically. Every word felt like a key to a puzzle, but the puzzle was massive and they were only beginning to understand. As the sun set, the statue's eyes in the photographs glowed faintly, almost as if it were aware of their progress. That night, Alex could not sleep. He sat by the desk reviewing their findings. The hum returned periodically, each time stronger than the last, and he felt a strange pressure in his mind, like a gentle urging. It was as if the statue wanted him to focus, to absorb every detail. Suddenly, he noticed a subtle change in the carvings in the photographs. A symbol that had previously seemed random now appeared to move slightly, aligning with another symbol nearby. Alex leaned closer, eyes wide. "Elena, look!" he called. Elena hurried over, adjusting her glasses. "What is it?" "The symbols. They're shifting," Alex whispered. "It's like the statue is communicating, not just with its voice, but through the carvings themselves. It's giving us directions, maybe showing us the steps we need to take." Elena nodded slowly, a mixture of fear and excitement on her face. "If that's true, then every observation, every note we make could be important. We have to be precise and careful." The next few days became a blur of research and observation. Alex and Elena documented every detail, every vibration, every movement in the symbols. They discovered that the carvings formed a complex system, a combination of astronomical alignments and human behavior. Some patterns predicted weather anomalies, others suggested social or political events. It was as if the statue had been watching humanity for centuries, recording events and calculating outcomes. One evening, as they worked late into the night, the statue's voice spoke again. "Humanity's choices will determine the future. Some paths lead to prosperity, others to chaos. Knowledge without action achieves nothing. You must help guide understanding. Share, teach, observe, and prepare." Alex's heart raced. "We're not scientists in the traditional sense," he said. "How can we guide humanity? How can two people influence anything on this scale?" The voice was calm but firm. "You are the first. Others will come. Do not underestimate the power of awareness. One mind can awaken many. Actions ripple beyond the immediate. Trust in understanding and clarity. Alex felt a chill. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders. He realized that the statue's awakening was not just a personal experience, it was a call to action. The visions he had seen, the warnings, and the symbols were all part of a larger message. Humanity had been given a chance, and the responsibility to interpret and share that knowledge had fallen upon him. As the nights passed, Alex began to notice subtle changes in the environment around him. Shadows moved differently, lights flickered strangely, and the hum became more pronounced at certain hours. The statue seemed to be guiding him, showing him moments of significance, drawing his attention to details he would otherwise have missed. One night, as he studied the carvings, he saw a pattern that frightened him. It suggested a significant disruption, a challenge that humanity might face in the near future. He felt a pang of fear but also determination. The statue had awakened him for a reason. It had chosen him to observe, to learn, and to act. Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. "We're part of something bigger," she said softly. "We can't ignore it. We have to continue, no matter how difficult it feels." Alex nodded, staring at the photographs of the statue. Its eyes seemed to glow with silent intensity, as if acknowledging his resolve. He realized that the journey ahead would not be easy, but it was necessary. The statue's awakening had set events in motion that could not be stopped. All they could do was learn, understand, and prepare. As dawn approached, Alex whispered to himself, "I don't know what comes next, but I have to be ready." We have to be ready. The statue remained silent that night, but its presence was stronger than ever. Alex felt its awareness guiding him, urging him to continue the work they had begun. The world outside remained unaware, moving on with its ordinary routines. Yet inside Alex's apartment, the first steps toward understanding a centuries-old mystery were being taken. The statue's message was clear. Humanity's choices mattered, and time was of the essence. Alex looked at Elena, determination in his eyes. "We have to continue. There's too much at stake to stop now." Elena nodded. "Then let's not waste another moment. Whatever this statue wants to show us, we'll see it together." And with that, they returned to their research, unaware of how far-reaching the statue's influence would become, and how much the next discoveries would test their courage, wisdom, and resolve. The following morning, Alex felt a sense of resolve stronger than ever. The previous days had been exhausting. Long hours of research, nights filled with strange hums and visions, but he knew that their work had brought them closer to understanding the statue's message. Whatever lay ahead, they could not turn back now. Elena arrived early, carrying her notes, books, and a portable scanner they had borrowed to study the carvings more precisely. "I think we're close," she said, her voice filled with cautious excitement. "All the patterns, the symbols, the hums, they're pointing to something. We just have to interpret it correctly." Alex nodded. "I think the statue is trying to show us a sequence, a way to guide humans, not just warnings but steps. But it's complex. There's so much to decode." They worked side by side, cross-referencing every symbol, every vibration, and every subtle change they had observed. Slowly, a story emerged from the carvings. It was a story of observation, guidance, and consequences. The statue had been placed long ago to monitor humanity, to record actions and teach lessons through symbols and visions. It had remained dormant for centuries, waiting for someone curious and brave enough to awaken it. As evening fell, the familiar hum began again, resonating through the apartment. This time, Alex felt a deeper connection to it, as if the statue's presence was reaching through time and space. The voice spoke, calm but with undeniable urgency. "You have come far. The final lesson is at hand. Observe, understand, and act. Humanity's path is not fixed, but time is limited." Alex and Elena exchanged a glance. "It's the final step," Elena whispered. "We need to understand what it wants now." The carvings shifted subtly, revealing patterns they had not noticed before. Some aligned with major celestial events, while others seemed to correlate with choices humans might make in the near future. Alex realized the statue was giving them a map, not of geography but of possibilities, a guide to potential outcomes. "Look here," Alex said, pointing to a sequence of symbols. "It's showing consequences. Positive actions lead to harmony, negative actions lead to turmoil. We need to find a way to communicate this to make people aware." Elena nodded. "We may not reach everyone, but we can share knowledge with those willing to listen. We can plant seeds of understanding." and that may be enough to change the course. That night, as they reviewed their findings, the hum grew louder, almost like a heartbeat. Alex could feel it in his chest, steady and insistent. Suddenly, the statue spoke directly to him. You understand? Now prepare. Share wisely. Encourage, educate, and inspire. Humanity is capable of greatness, but only if it chooses wisely. Alex felt a mix of fear and determination. The responsibility was immense, but he also felt hope. The statue's awakening had not only revealed potential dangers, but also possibilities for growth, knowledge, and unity. It was a guide, a mentor of sorts, offering humanity a chance to correct its course. Over the next several days, Alex and Elena worked tirelessly to create a system of documentation. They combined the symbols with explanations, linking them to observable events and human actions. They drafted reports, diagrams, and presentations, careful to make them understandable to anyone who might one day study them. They also reached out to a small group of trusted colleagues, archaeologists, scientists, and educators, sharing only what was necessary and verifiable, careful not to cause panic. Slowly, a network of people began to form, united by curiosity, respect for knowledge, and the shared mission of understanding the statue's message. One night, as Alex stared at the photos of the statue, its eyes glowed softly, a warm and steady light. The voice spoke once more. You have done well. The message will spread slowly, but with wisdom and patience. Humanity will face challenges, but it is capable of change. Remember, observation, understanding, and action. These are the keys. Alex felt a profound sense of peace. The fear that had gripped him since the statue first spoke had been replaced by purpose. He realized that awakening the statue had not doomed humanity, as its first words had warned, but had given them the opportunity to grow and learn. Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. We've reached the point where observation becomes action. We know what is needed. Now we have to trust humanity to make the right choices. Alex nodded. We can't force change, but we can guide it. And that is enough. That has to be enough. As dawn approached, the hum faded, leaving only the quiet presence of the statue. Alex and Elena sat in silence, reflecting on the journey they had taken. From a simple, joking kiss to the awakening of a centuries-old sentinel, their lives had changed forever. They had witnessed something extraordinary, something that tested their courage, curiosity, and dedication to knowledge. Weeks passed, and their work continued, slowly expanding. They published findings, shared insights, and encouraged discussions about history, science, and the responsibility humans had toward the world and each other. The statue remained silent, but its presence was felt in every discovery, every moment of understanding. Alex often thought back to the first day he had kissed the statue, laughing at his own boldness. He realized that small actions could have enormous consequences, both good and bad. The statue had awakened because of curiosity, but it had also offered guidance, showing that even simple choices could ripple across time. One quiet evening, as Alex and Elena walked through a nearby park, they noticed children playing, families talking, and people going about their daily lives. The world seemed ordinary, yet beneath the surface it had shifted. Awareness had been awakened, seeds of knowledge had been planted, and the future held possibilities that were previously unseen. Alex smiled faintly, thinking of the statue. Its message was clear. Humanity had the potential to change, to grow, and to understand its place in the universe. The path would not be easy, but hope and knowledge could guide the way. As the sun set, casting golden light over the city, Alex whispered to himself, "We've done what we could. Now it's up to them." He felt a gentle warmth in the room, as if the statue itself acknowledged his words, and in that quiet moment, Alex realized something profound. The world had not been doomed by a playful kiss. Instead, it had been given a chance to learn, to observe, and to act wisely. The statue had awakened not to punish, but to teach, and humanity's future was brighter because someone had dared to be curious. The hum of the statue was gone, replaced by silence. Yet the feeling of connection, understanding, and purpose remained. Alex and Elena knew that the journey was far from over, but they were ready. The world was full of mysteries, and now more than ever it was ready to listen.